Thank you for being here for our Mind Brain Teaching webinar, and we'll jump in just a few minutes. Congratulations on being here and taking the next step in your educational journey. I'm going to be jumping in at the latter part of our presentation to kind of talk about admissions and next steps. But the most important takeaway for my portion of the presentation is that you're never going through this process alone. And I'm sure after you hear from myself and Dr. John Bull today, you will feel just the community of the School of Education here at Johns Hopkins. We are very, very well connected. And again, you have an incredible support system as you progress through our Mind, Brain, and Teaching graduate certificate. I'm going to pass things off to Dr. John Bull. She is an assistant professor who teaches in the Mind, Brain, and Teaching, and also the Doctor of Education program. She's the faculty lead of the Mind, Brain, and Teaching program. She joined the faculty here at the School of Education in 2014 after a postdoctoral fellowship, and she received her PhD from the University of Virginia. Her research focus areas include teacher efficacy, cultural competence, social context of belief change, neuroeducation, professional development, and arts integration methods. So I will pass things off to Dr. John Bull. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, James. Quick question. Would you like to run through the fast facts for the School of Ed?
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay.
I apologize. I was so I guess taken back with my video. I apologize, everyone. So just to give you some context, the School of Education at Johns Hopkins, we are one of 9 schools. In total, our enrollment is just shy of 2,000 students. We offer 24 graduate degrees, including doctoral degrees, master degrees, and graduate certificates. And as you can see, we have about 24,000 alumni within the School of Education. Also, just some quick housekeeping items. This presentation is being recorded, and we'll send you the recording after probably 7 to 10 days after the presentation is over. And as we go through the presentation today, you'll see the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to ask any questions as we go through. We will hold all the questions till the very end for both Dr. John Bull and myself. So please submit those questions as we go through. And again, sorry about the back and forth there. I appreciate the reminder, Dr. John Bull. And I will pass it off to you to jump in. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Thanks, James. All right. Well, welcome again to the Mind, Brain, and Teaching webinar and information session. I think we like to start off with some questions. Why pursue a Mind, Brain, and Teaching education in the first place? One, you might want to advance your practice and become an advanced practitioner. That's one reason why people come to us. You may be interested in pursuing leadership in your field, which we have a lot of people doing in our program. You may be interested in doing more policy type work, which a lot of folks that come through our program take their knowledge and apply it to policy, not just at the state and federal level, but at the local school level, at the school board level and school district level. You may be interested in becoming an educational consultant, or maybe that is already your work and you want to grow your practice and enhance your knowledge. And maybe this is just part of a lifelong learning goal, and you have a real interest in how the brain body thinks and interacts with the world. So there's lots of different reasons why you might pursue a Mind, Brain, and Teaching education. This degree is ideal for lots of different people, pre-K to 16 educators, counselors, and school leaders, and professionals associated with schools, higher education professionals, organizational leaders, educational consultants, parents and homeschool educators, and folks who are working in face-to-face education, and folks who are working in online education. The Mind, Brain, and Teaching program is really ideal for everybody. And this certificate I just want to give you a little overview about why I love this certificate program and why I love the Mind, Brain, and Teaching content. It's focused on learning and sharing and translating, in air quotes, or applying what we know about how the body and the brain thinks and learns and interacts with the world. And in this program, we're learning how to help our various spheres of influence, like my home community, my work community, my religious community, maybe, or the different community organizations, become more kinder and more holistic education communities of practice. And we're doing this through the application of our new and existing knowledge to our practice. So adding on to what we already bring to the program, we're adding on knowledge from the learning sciences. And this program and the learning sciences are like a big plate of Sri Lankan curry. And if you don't know yet, which you will soon, I am Sri Lankan and European American. And Sri Lankan curry has many dishes, and they each complement each other. And the components of this program are delicious on their own, but taken together and synthesized with your knowledge and your interests, it becomes a more bigger and brighter picture of how we might approach education practice by integrating all of these things, especially utilizing Dr. Hardiman's brain targeted teaching model. And so I'm going to talk to you more a little bit like that. But just like Sri Lankan curry, which if any of you are familiar with Sri Lankan curry, it's rather than eating things alone, we like to mix things together. And we also think that integrating these insights into practice and utilizing them as parts of an integrated system is tastier and more effective altogether. All right, so you heard a little bit about me, but let me show you how I would introduce myself in a course, or how I would encourage you to use visuals to introduce yourself in your work. So I live in North Carolina. I'm a Panthers fan, and we used to live in Baltimore, and I used to travel there quite frequently when it was pre-COVID. These are our 4 United Nations babies, and I call them that because I am by ethnic Sri Lankan and European American. My husband is Nigerian and European American. Both of our mamas are Midwest white American nanas of our daughters and several other grandchildren. And they're both German and English, have German and English heritage. And the reason where I share some of this personal identity with you is that when you enter a graduate program, what we know from the learning sciences is that learning is social, and it's enhanced when we get to know one another better and learn together in kind communities of practice where we get to know both our personal and our professional identities. So speaking of identities, let me share a little bit about what you might see in the courses and how that relates to our identities. And that's my whole family there. And I forgot to show you the last picture. All right, so we're starting to think about mind, brain, and teaching, or neuroeducation, in this kind of space of culturally relevant neuroeducation. And this is a conceptual framework that I developed with Dr. Hardiman. And it is, let me just, before I show you everything, let me just say that I use neuroeducation interchangeably with mind, brain, and teaching and the learning sciences, which are a diverse set of fields like cognitive science, neuroscience, experimental psychology, education, sociology, anthropology. There's lots of different fields that feed into what we call neuroeducation, or the learning sciences, or mind, brain, and teaching, and in some spaces, mind, brain, and education. So what it is essentially is, how does the brain, body think and learn? Okay, and we pulling that together from those diverse sets of silos and fields of research and academia. All right, so in education, though, what we're always concerned about are equitable outcomes for students and also families and communities. What we know that influences student outcomes from the research is that these equitable outcomes happen within learning environments. They don't happen in silos. We also know that student self-efficacy and their learning practices are predictive of their learning outcomes. And what we know about student self-efficacy, that's their beliefs about whether or not they think that they can achieve and they can do the tasks set out in front of them. What influences those beliefs are instructional practices. And in parentheses, I have culturally relevant pedagogy and brain targeted teaching, which is what we are integrating to call culturally relevant neuroeducation. These instructional practices are directly influenced by our personal teaching self-efficacy beliefs and our general teaching self-efficacy beliefs. Personal teaching self-efficacy, I'll just tell you really quickly, is my beliefs as a teacher, me, that I have the skills and ability to implement classroom management techniques and methods to instruct, so instructional methods, and that I can develop relationships with students. So essentially, I believe that I have the tools, skills, and competencies to teach well. General teaching self-efficacy, however, is a general expectation that teaching is going to influence student learning no matter who does it. These two beliefs are highly context specific, and there's a huge body of literature and several decades of research on it, and that these beliefs directly influence my practices. Okay, and let me just give you a quick example. So if let's say I'm a mathematics teacher, and I believe that I have great competencies and skills and a great toolbox of strategies to come into the classroom with. And I also think when I walk into this particular classroom and I see the kids in front of me, the context specific, I think, oh, I have the skills and competencies to teach. And I think that no matter who walks into this class, the teaching is going to be effective in influencing student learning. Okay, so that's scenario one. Scenario two, let's say I still think that I'm great at teaching mathematics. I walk into this classroom and I look in front of me and I think, I'm not sure if anybody who comes into this classroom will be able to influence student learning. So I have high personal teaching efficacy and I have medium to low general teaching self-efficacy. That's how I would classify that. What we know from the research is that teachers with high both personal and general will pull out all the strategies to try and meet the needs of the students, even and persisting in the face of challenges. They will persist in the profession, and they will try their best to make sure that all students' needs are met. When teachers' efficacy is lower on either personal or general, they don't necessarily pull out all of their tricks and strategies. They sometimes feel too disenchanted to persist when in the face of challenges. What we know about this also is that our beliefs about ourselves and our beliefs about these general teaching self-efficacy and personal is that it's related to our cultural competence. And our cultural competence is something that I define as our awareness of self, of our self-identities, our awareness of others people's identities, and our awareness of how institutions and society advantages or disadvantages those identities. Okay, so it's awareness of self, awareness of others, and awareness of how those identities are at operation. And so that awareness of self is also awareness of my biases, right? Now, what I found specifically in my research is that teachers with really high cultural competence are also having high personal teaching self-efficacy and high general teaching self-efficacy. So it's like a superpower because they are working really hard to ensure that students' needs are met from diverse groups. So this is really exciting to me because what we need to figure out is how do we improve these beliefs? We're talking really here about the educator and the teacher in the classroom because they are the ones that bring their identities into the classroom, that influences their practices, and it influences how the students receive the instruction. This is not in a vacuum. This is happening within multiple systems and communities of power and privilege. So you might still have like the best teachers with like the highest levels of beliefs, and they may still feel a little bit disenchanted based upon a community of power and privilege that they may be operating a system, or perhaps that system that they're operating within is 100% in support of them, and in those cases, their self-efficacy is boosted by their communities of practice. All right, so I say all that because what we focus on because Dr. Hardiman and I have had the opportunity to study this specifically, and we have recently published a paper in 2023, in the summer of 2023, called Exploring Teaching Self-Efficacy Changes Through Neuroeducation and Professional Development. And what we found was that when teachers learn about the brain-targeted teaching framework and some additional research on teacher self-efficacy and cultural competence, that their beliefs, their teacher self-efficacy beliefs and their general teaching self-efficacy beliefs are increased after about a 4-month period, which is uniquely about the length of a graduate course. So what we hypothesized from this was that when teachers learn about basic brain anatomy and physiology, and they learn about neuroscience misconceptions like neuromyths, that their general teaching self-efficacy increases and their implicit biases decrease, because they don't necessarily believe some of the myths that are out there related to the brain, related to different groups of people, like racial groups or socioeconomic groups anymore. So their general teaching self-efficacy increases. We also believe that their personal teaching self-efficacy beliefs increase because they have had the time to learn this content from the brain targeted teaching and from the learning sciences, and apply it to their own professional practice. So what we have done in these studies is that we have asked teachers and educators to create a brain targeted teaching learning unit, either for their students in the classroom or for the adults that they work with, and make it applicable to their work. So that's just a little teaser. It's been very exciting to get to do this work. And we also wondered from these studies, whether or not it would enhance teachers' cultural competence if we very intentionally integrated culturally relevant pedagogy into our work, which is inherently how the brain targeted teaching works, because it is the learning sciences, and these strategies are actually meant for helping us diversify our teaching strategies and our instructional practices and our professional practices with different people to meet the diverse needs of people, of students and people. All right, so that's a little bit about our content. That's a little bit about what you would see in one of our courses. Let me just tell you a little bit about the Mind, Brain, and Teaching certificate in general. So it's a 15 credit graduate certificate, and we explore the research from the learning sciences and how this has the potential to inform the field of education. We're not necessarily taking the strategies from studies in the learning sciences and plunking them directly into the classroom, but we're looking at the insights, critically looking at the research, and thinking about how that can inform our practices. Okay, and the courses integrate diverse disciplines and investigate human learning and development. We also, like I said earlier, integrate the learning sciences, are integrating research from cognitive science, psychology and brain science, neurology, neuroscience and education, and several more. And we ask our students to critically consider how learning science research can inform educational practices and policies. How policies being how we set up our communities of practice, how we set up our structures for the way we do things in our organizations and in our communities. This program is offered in a fully online format, and the traditional time frame for this is a completion of 5 semesters, 2 academic years plus 1 summer in between. And the courses are offered in sequential order. We also have an accelerated structure, which I'm going to show you in just a little bit. There are many advantages to this program, in our opinion. One is that our program is grounded in a very accessible instructional framework called the brain targeted teaching model. And this model, which you'll see these icons on the right, was created by our program founder. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her in a second. One of the advantages also is that this is applicable to any organizational context. Schools, organizations, home, you name it, this framework and this learning is applicable to life, because in any point in our lives, we are learning. We are growing, we are changing, we are adapting and reacting to the world around us. So what you learn in this graduate certificate is applicable to life, both personal and professional. All right, one of the other advantages is that our program has a focus on creating opportunities for you to have assignments to immediately translate your learning to your professional context or your personal context. All right, there are many, many more advantages, but I just want to give you a couple. The brain targeted teaching instructional framework also threads throughout our courses, and this is based on Dr. Hardiman's book, The Brain Targeted Teaching Model for 21st Century Schools. The one in the center is the most updated one, and she's in the process of writing a new one, which hopefully will be coming out in 2024. And she is our MBT program founder. She was a school leader in Baltimore City for a blue ribbon that she turned, it was Roland Park Elementary Middle School, and she moved that school from being a school at risk to a blue ribbon school. And in the process, she developed this model with her teachers during her graduate program. All right, our curriculum structure. We've got a couple of different options for you because we are trying to meet the needs of our very diverse set of students that come to us. So we have our traditional option, which is we have a fall explorations in mind, brain, and teaching, spring fundamentals of cognitive development, summer neurobiology of learning differences, fall cognitive processes of literacy, numeracy, and special topics in brain science to cap off the whole experience. Explorations in Mind, Brain, and Teaching is a practical application course where you learn about the brain targeted teaching framework. Fundamentals of cognitive development, you learn about normal development in neurobiology of learning differences. You learn about some of the varieties of neurodiverse development. And then in cognitive processes of literacy and numeracy, that course you learn about these two major areas that are important for normal functioning of citizens. This one was called for by many different educators as Dr. Hardiman was starting this program, the certificate. And the special topics in brain sciences touches on a wide variety of different topics that we don't get to cover in the earlier courses, and it dives deeper into a couple of the topics that we really love from the earlier courses as well. All right, so let's see, fall, spring. Okay, this is also the traditional curriculum structure, and it's option A, but it's starting in the spring. So we are taking in a cohort this spring, and so you would take it spring, summer, fall, spring, summer. So it's just moved ahead one semester, same order of the courses. Now, for some students, we have an accelerated option. So this is where you would take explorations in mind, brain, and teaching and fundamentals of cognitive development in the fall. So you would take 2 in the fall, you would take 2 in the spring, and then you would finish off in the summer. We created this accelerated option for students because this allows you to apply for financial aid. Because then you will meet the minimum requirements of credit hours to apply for federal financial aid. And it's also really nice if you decide to pair this with a master's degree. So our delivery for our courses, they are asynchronous. And let me just say something about that. The reason that we have an asynchronous program is because we pull and we attract students from around the globe. So currently we have students, I have students all over the place right now. So even though it's asynchronous, we do have some times for live sessions. That said, all of the required materials are online in our online platform. We use video lectures, we use digital interactive experiences, we have discussions amongst you in the classroom, and we have applicable projects to your context. And we also have these synchronous sessions like we're having right now. Those synchronous sessions generally are optional because we have people in so many different time zones. And what we do is that we record the synchronous sessions and we post them on our Canvas site. All right, I'm just going to take a sip of water. The outcomes of a Mind, Brain, and Teaching graduate certificate or degree. We think of you all as research translators in professional practice. So, what that means is that once you've come through our program, you've gained skills for digesting the research literature, and you have deeply rooted yourself in bodies of literature that are relevant to your practice. What I'm saying there is that you get a lot of choice during the certificate program to find literature that's relevant to you, that on a topic of interest that's important to you. You do not, you're not just coming to the courses and only reading what we suggest to you. And you also produce projects that immediately translate the research to practice. We also think of you as neuroeducators once you leave our program, in that you will have gained essential knowledge concerning this nexus between mind, brain, and teaching research. And you leave with great tools and projects ready for implementation within your context. And our students always tell us that they start to serve as the point people for knowledge from the learning sciences while they're still in the program and beyond, because it's what you learn while you're a student from the content in the courses and also from one another is usually very invigorating for our students, and they tend to go out and immediately start talking to their colleagues about it in their professional organizations or their schools. Here are a couple of student testimonials. That shares some of the excitement about their work in the program. I'll just read this center one for you. This program has truly been the perfect marriage of my love for science and my love of teaching. I have learned to be more scientifically literate through this program by being given the tools to analyze and understand human learning and development. And what I love about that quote is that I think that's what we're all trying to do, right? We're all trying to live healthy and well-developed lives, to develop gracefully into our adulthood, to help students, if we're working in K to 12, to help students on their trajectory toward healthy development. And if we're working with adults, having healthy, kind communities of practice. And I think what we learn through this program and through this content and through this continued research is that this knowledge helps us to better understand ourselves so that we can operate more kindly in the world and more productively. All right. So those are some of the student testimonials. I would like to also share with you about the Masters of Science in Educational Studies with the interdisciplinary program. One of the advantages, in my opinion, of the Johns Hopkins School of Education is that we offer this option. So the Masters of Science in Education is designed for educators interested in developing a customized course of study that reflects their personal career goals. And what you're able to do is you're able to choose the online graduate certificate of mind, brain, and teaching, and pair it with one of our other graduate certificates. So we have these graduate certificate in autism, in gifted, in leadership and technology integration, in school administration supervision, and in urban education. And majority of these are online. And what you can do then is your master's can then be essentially a dual specialization, right? So you're getting mind, brain, and teaching, and you're getting, let's say, administration supervision or gifted. And what you're leaving with is a very rich toolbox to help you grow in your professional advancement in your career. So I would highly recommend, if you're considering the MBT certificate, that you also think about adding an additional certificate and just coming out with a master's. All right, James, I think I'm handing the microphone back over to you now.
Thank you, Dr. Jumble.
Sure.
If I can bug you as the host now, can you make me a co-host? Because it won't let me start my video now.
Okay, sure.
I'm sorry.
Not a problem at all. Let me
Thank you.
let me get over there.
So thank you again, Dr. Jumble. As I mentioned earlier, I'm James McCarty, Associate Director of Admission. And as far as the admissions office goes, I'm really the liaison, if you will, for all students interested in the mind brain teaching graduate certificate. That being said, I think after today, a really great next step if you're interested, you're looking for more information, a really great next step would be to reach out and connect with me one-on-one. I offer a number of quick 30-minute meetings throughout the week, and after I'm finished, what I'll do, I pulled up my bookings link, but we don't have the chat feature enabled, so I will send a follow-up email to everyone that attended today, and I will just again thank you for being here, and I'll send my link. I would love to connect with you one-on-one and kind of talk in more depth and more specifically about the admissions process for you, so we can really kind of hone in, and I can help you walk through this process one-on-one. The application is open for actually two upcoming starting semesters. So you can apply for our spring 2024 semester, which will kick off in January, or the fall 2024 semester kicking off next August. So both of those applications are live. Again, definitely consider starting in January, just getting the ball rolling and moving forward if that works for you and your life circumstances. As far as applying goes, so we have one online application. Actually, if you've been on the Johns Hopkins School of Education website in I'll say the recent future, and you went on today, you'll notice that there was a big change. We actually have a brand new website that just rolled out, I believe, yesterday morning. So on our new website, you can go to any admissions page, click on the apply button, and if you scroll to the very bottom, there's a big yellow banner that says apply now. That will take you to the online application to begin that process. Completing the online application form, there is also an $80 application fee that you'll pay when you submit your application, and just some other components that we look for as far as the Mind, Brain, and Teaching application. We're looking for official transcripts from all post-secondary institutions attended. I will stress that we are looking for all official transcripts. So a lot of times a student will apply and just submit an official transcript for where they completed a degree. We are looking for any and all transcripts for any and all institutions that you've attended. As far as obtaining the official transcripts, you'll work through the registrar's office at that institution, and those transcripts can be sent to us virtually through, there's a lot of third-party companies and agencies that we use. They can be physically mailed to us. Basically, as long as it is received by us from the institution, those are considered official transcripts. So again, we'll look for those from all institutions attended. There is a brief 500-word essay or personal statement that you'll submit when you apply, essentially just talking about your interest in, why us, why Johns Hopkins, why the Mind Brain Teaching Graduate Certificate, and again, sharing your interest. You'll submit a resume or CV. There's also 2 letters of recommendation that you'll submit. We generally recommend, if possible, at least one of those letters being someone from an academic background. Again, if possible, just being able to talk to your abilities as a student, that student experience of conducting research, writing scholarly, etc. But I always stress to students, just, whomever the 2 best recommenders are, you'll want to utilize them as recommenders. And as you can see, there is no GRE required for our program, and I can hear all of your cheers from afar. So yeah, yes, no GRE to apply to our program. Oh, sorry, next slide, Dr. Jumble. Thank you. For any international students that are applying, or students that have any international credentials, if that pertains to you when you apply, we do require an English language proficiency requirement, and that can be completed either through submitting a TOEFL or an IELTS score. There are some criteria. If you've done schooling in the US for 2 or more years, you might be able to bypass that requirement. So definitely check out our website to kind of talk through that more, or again, connect with me directly. But again, TOEFL or IELTS for the English language proficiency requirement. And for any students that have any international credentials, we do look for a course by course evaluation of your transcript on our website. And I think if you click one more time, Dr. Jumble, it might populate. Thank you. So there's the website to go through. There are 6 or 7 different agencies that we work through. WES is the biggest, ECE is another one, where essentially you would have your transcript sent to that agency. They give a course by course evaluation and then send it directly to us. So again, for any students with any international credentials. As far as tuition and fees go, you can see here on the screen for all online courses, the cost per credit is $1,025. And then there is a $20 per credit technology fee as well. So again, you would, however many classes you're thinking of taking, multiply that by the number of credits to result in what you see on the screen. There is a $175 registration fee per semester, and as I've already mentioned, the $80 application fee as well. As far as scholarships go, the School of Education does offer a limited number of partial need-based scholarships that you can apply for both semesters, fall and spring. Similar for many of you, I'm sure you're probably familiar with submitting the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. That's really all that we ask for when you apply to be reviewed for any of those types of institutional scholarships. And then through our scholarships and grants webpage, there is a listing for external scholarships as well. I always suggest students to check those out. Probably the biggest, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is a great resource looking for external funding to help make this journey a little more cost effective. So we have a whole webpage dedicated to external scholarships as well. So please feel free to check those out. Awesome. Next slide, Dr. Jumble. Thank you. So we'll transition and wrap things up. Just thank you again for being here with us today. As I mentioned, I highly encourage all of you to schedule a time to chat with me as a next step. Moving forward, I would love to connect and hear your story and walk you through this process. We will open it up for Q&A, so feel free to submit any questions. I see that we did have some that came in, which is awesome. So Dr. Jumble, we'll kick things off easy to get started. Can you share how can students access your new paper or article that was published? Where can they go to find that?
The journal is called The Teacher Educator. And I can, are you typing that in? Okay.
Sorry, I will. I'll pull that up really quick.
Wait, I The Teacher Educator. And I can send James the digital object identifier, the DOI link. So when you reach out to everybody on this call, you're welcome to, I'll send it to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
I would love for more people to read it.
I will.
Question. Uh-oh, we lost you, James.
Turn off my camera again in hopes that okay. I'm so sorry, everyone.
No problem.
Like I said, this storm rolling through Pennsylvania is not working for me today. I'm sorry.
All good. Okay, so the second question, is this program most intended or most useful in traditional classroom settings? Or are there other areas in which this certificate could be used effectively, such as child welfare systems of care? Yeah, absolutely. We do not, this graduate certificate program is geared for every educational context. We have folks that come from Montessori. We actually have somebody on faculty who has a Montessori background in the mind, brain, and teaching content area. We also have folks who are early childhood people. We have school counselors that come in. We have social workers that have come and taken the program. We also have religious leaders that have come and taken the certificate because they are guiding adults learning and development. And absolutely child welfare systems of care. I think that, That definitely makes sense because you're dealing with students who may have been exposed to trauma, and children and families that may be experiencing different levels of need. So certainly what you learn in our program will be appropriate to that. And one of our adjunct faculty who is a graduate of our EDD program has recently revised and infused some new content into the neurobiology of learning course that specifically addresses trauma-informed care, and the issues and factors and variabilities surrounding students and children who have been exposed to trauma, and what we know about the brain and the body and learning. So yes, that absolutely is applicable to any field. Let's see. So I've got another question here. Do you suggest reading any text ahead of schedule? You do not have to. No, you don't have to do that. There's time within the courses to read any of the required readings. If you want to get a jump start, you could go ahead and get the Brain Targeted Teaching Framework book and take a sneak peek into it. That is, it's available on Amazon, and it's a great book, quite frankly. When I started with Hopkins in 2012 and did my postdoc with Dr. Hardiman and started reading her book, I was so jazzed about what I learned through it that I didn't already know, which was a lot. I learned a lot through that. And I started to apply it to my own parenting as a parent of a young child at that time, my first daughter. And I have used many of those strategies in our home. So it's also just applicable for life too, if you're in community with children and other people. And then this other question is, if you have a master's in education, can it aid in an opportunity for a PhD or EDD if you complete the MBT and integration in technology? Okay, so yes, I would say absolutely. So I may need more context on that question. So for example, we have a PhD program here and an EDD program here. And I'm assuming you're wondering about taking this master's and then applying to our PhD or EDD program. I'll just start there and say that yes, it can aid into admissions into either of our programs now. If you're looking to apply to a different university, I will say yes, it will aid in getting you into a different university for a PhD or an EDD program. I've actually written several recommendation letters in the past year, and our MBT certificate graduates have been admitted into an EDD program in Indiana, and then a PhD program somewhere in one of the New York universities, but I can't remember which one. But those are just two of the many over the years that we write because of different people have different appetites for their PhD or EDD. If you're interested in a face-to-face PhD, we have that option here at the School of Education. If you're interested in an online EDD, we have that also at the School of Education. We don't have an online PhD or a face-to-face EDD though. So just to make you aware. I hope that answered the question fully, Ren.
Dr. Jumble, if I can ask a question, just something that I get a lot from admissions. Can you you've talked a little bit today, but if you could elaborate just any, I don't know, helpful hints or tidbits for students applying as a faculty reviewer, what are faculty looking for in a student's application? Is there anything to do to help yourself stand out? I get a lot of questions in that regard, and just from someone who's reviewing applications, I'd love to hear your response.
Sure, thank you. I think taking your personal statement seriously and making sure to really communicate to us as the reviewers what it is that interests you about this particular graduate certificate and why you think it's going to help you in your professional goals, because we are really interested in our program and across the School of Education in helping you on your learning journey and your professional advancement. Or if it is for your personal learning goals and it's not related to necessarily a profession that you are working on, we really want to know what it is that interests you and what are you excited about. So make sure to address that in the 500-word statement. It's also helpful if your recommenders can speak to your to your work and also to your collaborative spirit. Also, if they can speak to your writing or any writing products that you might have had with those folks, that's very helpful. And yeah, I think those are the main two things. A good resume that really tells us like where you're at right now, but that's, I think, pretty standard for most everybody. We're really interested in seeing that personal statement and understanding how you want to take this degree and integrate it into your life.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jumble.
Sure. Any other questions? I know I have received a question a number of times in the past, whether or not this program is a science-based program. So we utilize sciences. We are not teaching you a ton of science. You do not have to come into this program with a lot of science background, because we will teach you some and enough to be able to digest the research articles that you are reading that are related to brain structure and function. We will also give you some information about how to, and some learning experiences and knowledge for how to parse and pick apart research articles, and looking at the research methods sections, which can be a bit overwhelming. So you don't have to come in with already having that knowledge and information. And it's also not like, it's not a science program, right? We're not a neuroscience program. We are here taking and gleaning insights from neuroscience, cognitive science, experimental psychology, all of these different fields, and trying to pull it together about how the human brain and body thinks and learns and develops, and applying those to professional practice and educational practice. So I just want to make sure that that's clear and put another plug in for that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jumble.
Sure.
Again, as we're wrapping things up, if you have any final questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. I just want to thank Dr. Jumble so much for that incredible presentation, and thank you all for being here to find out about the Mind, Brain, and Teaching graduate certificate at the School of Education here at Johns Hopkins. Again, feel free to stay connected moving forward. Anything that we can do to help or support, we're here to walk alongside you every step of the way. And most importantly, again, stay connected. We'll be offering a number of future webinars that will still talk about the Mind, Brain, and Teaching certificate, but just in different ways. We're looking to offer a graduate student panel as one to be able to get questions answered of our current students and alumni from the program, and then another offering a more deep dive into some of the content material within the program. So again, stay connected, come back to our future programs, and anything that we can do to help or assist, don't ever hesitate to reach out. Again, thank you so much for being with us today, and have a great rest of your day. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.